Look, guys, I have ideas lined up, but they all require actual effort. Plus, I just gave you all a really hard vid to make and nobody's watching it. So this time, I'm just gonna do this new YouTube thing of easy, low-hanging fruit to turn into content. NineOuh! What's on the list?
Let's see, we got anime and tokusatsu?
Later.
What about what makes anime good?
Stop, no.
How about Japanese blood type theory?
Too esoteric.
Studio spotlights?
Who?
Trigger?
No.
KyoAni?
No.
IG?
No.
Gohans?
No, but I can talk about Handshakers for 5 minutes.
That'll work.
Handshakers. Handshakers is a lot. Handshakers was a 2017 anime brought to you by the relatively young studio Gohans. Gohans was founded by former studio Satellite members and have made a name for themselves with anime like Project K, Modok Scramble, and Seitokai Yaku Indomo. Gohans is one of those studios with a definitive trademark aesthetic, making use of post-processing techniques and slick camera movements. Much like with other post-processing heavy studios like Ufotable and KyoAni, you know when you're watching a Gohans anime. The color choices, the fake film grain, the lovingly rendered CG cityscapes. For better or for worse, you'll know a Gohans anime when you see one. And today, we are definitely talking about the worst. When I first laid eyes on Handshakers back in January of 2017, I wasn't exactly sure what I was looking at. To call Handshakers bad would not only be an understatement, but it would also dilute the magnitude of how bafflingly inept almost all aspects of this show are. What makes Handshakers an anime worth discussing to some degree isn't just because it's poorly constructed. Tons of anime are poorly constructed, and there are other YouTubers who can focus their time picking apart the minor nuances of how anime can be bad, yeah, whatever. Handshakers, on the other hand, is fascinating because you could clearly see that this wasn't just a matter of the artist lacking talent, or a matter of the directors not having a vision for framing. Plenty of moments in the show display a competence of visual storytelling, but the rest of the time it's just... I knew from the moment I first laid eyes on this show that I'd probably end up writing about it someday, and because of that, I refrained from finishing it. That was until last week when I decided to hunker down and watch it in one sitting, and much like back in 2017, I still don't know exactly what I just looked at for 4 hours. This video is brought to you in part by NineOuh. NineOuh is a social media platform that caters to fans of all kinds, from video games to anime to art and music. The platform recently introduced a new stories function that allows you to make your own neatly put together web videos akin to Snapchat. It's a new platform for content creators and regular fans alike and offers a wide array of editing options to get the best looking vid possible. I have a story up right now called 5 Things Wrong with Handshakers. Go check it out after you're done with the video. Be sure to look me up and follow my page on there to catch any new stories. Many thanks to NineOuh for the opportunity. Now, back to business. I guess now would be where I'd give a brief summary of the show. Handshakers is about a high school kid named Tazuna. He somehow comes across a comatose girl named Koyori. The show establishes that Tazuna once had a sister, but she passed away from an acute case of anime death disease. When he finds Koyori, she happens to be laying exactly like her sister was in her final moments, and when he approaches her, this random comatose stranger on a hospital bed, for some reason she wakes up and grabs his finger, and then the show's plot kicks in. Handshakers is a hodgepodge of battle shonen tropes, with the primary sources for inspiration being the aforementioned Project K, produced by the same studio, and the Fate franchise. You see, this isn't just a regular battle shonen, oh no, it's a tournament anime with a twist. This is a show comprised of couples who fight in alternate mirror dimension battles in a place called the Ziggurat, and they're essentially fighting for a chance to meet face to face with God and make a wish. What is it with anime and going into a tournament for a wish? Brother, find a genie. I'll put in the effort. The show gets its title from the fact that combatants of this game are named Handshakers due to the participants needing a strong bond with the person they're partnered up with, symbolized by holding hands. This show has no themes. Just dry metaphor like a burnt steak with no A1. Including the protagonists, the show has 6 teams of Handshakers. One of them is a couple in an abusive relationship we see in episode 1 and then they're never plot relevant again. Another is two 20-somethings that work at a food company. The gag with them is that the superior member is an adult that looks like a loli, ha ha ha. A brother-sister team where the older sister is wet for her ototo. An idol who, I shit you not, quotes various philosophers and historical figures like she's a f***ing 8th grader who just discovered wiki quotes. And her fat manager, of course. We go from fight to fight, barely learning anything new about the world. The stakes are non-existent, the show has no real villain, and when the closest thing to a villain is asked what his motivations were, it's hand-waved away. I want to say I've never seen an anime with such a shamelessly barren approach to writing, but I'm one of the accursed few who has watched the Blade Dance with the Elementalers before. You YouTube man them think you're so fresh for picking on poor little Soda Online. I've seen real bad anime. You are like a baby. So yeah, the writing is terrible, and by now, the B-roll I've been running has probably tipped you off that the visuals are, let's actually talk about that.
I want to be ninja. I want to be I want to chop chow down, take chow down to Chinatown. I want to be ninja.
The visuals of Handshakers are what one could charitably describe as ambitious and less charitably describe as a homeless man throwing fireworks at a dumpster fire 2 meters away from a chevron. It's not so bad to make it unwatchable. On the contrary, there's something inherently watchable about the show's visuals. In anime, the term photography is used to describe how various post-processing elements come together to give all the elements used in a frame a clear-cut cohesion. The reason why some shows are able to get away with using computerized imagery and still have people not bat an eye is mainly due to this aspect being pulled off well. Your average frame of anime uses various different components drawn separately by separate departments of the studio, and if CG is a factor, there could be a whole other studio involved. Gridman, for example, had most of its CG work outsourced to Studio Graphinica. To coalesce all these departments' work into a fully unified image is the job of an anime studio's photography department. And let me tell you something, buddy. Somebody in the photography department at Gohan's is either woefully under-equipped for their task or taking the absolute piss. The CG doesn't even try to blend, and it's almost like the garish nature of computer graphics in this anime is an artistic choice. If it is, power to them. We're all allowed to make choices, no matter how flipping daft. This all comes together to make an anime that looks amateurish in execution, but not in a Mars of Destruction way, where it was clear that it was made by people who didn't care. Someone on this team cared. Not entirely sure who. Maybe it was the key animators, maybe it was the director's wife, but all I know is, it definitely wasn't any of the people involved in quality control, that's for damn sure. All of this, on some level, was extremely baffling to me when I first watched Handshakers. I trust Gohan's. K is great, Capellion was cool, Seto Kayako and Domo is a fun time, and the Marduk Scramble movies are the closest thing to classics that the studio's ever made. But this is less than amateurish. To call this unfinished would be an insult to other clearly unfinished anime that had the common decency of blending their damn CG and finishing their frickin' frames. On top of that, the cinematography choices in this show gave me hypertension. Who said this show was okay? Or this one? Or this one? Bro, I could be here all day doing this. Handshakers is one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments where everything that could have gone wrong did, and the things that went right are not right enough to offset the sheer magnitude of poor decision-making in the production process. When you watch an anime this bad, the question that inevitably comes up is
how, Sway?
In most circumstances, when a show isn't very good, it's a script issue. Or there was some production hiccups or time constraints that made the team have to sacrifice some of their vision in order to get the show ready for TV. With Handshakers, however, I don't think it's one big thing like a script issue or a bunch of smaller things like production hiccups. This is a once-in-a-lifetime confluence of bad management that left us with an anime that's by all accounts a failure, but why on earth don't I hate it? Why am I not revulsed by it? By the mere thought of it, the way I am by Blade Dance or how I used to feel about Kill la Kill? The answer is simple, because I see something in this show. I see an idea for an anime that was actually pretty inspired and that could have been something special. I've done as much research as I possibly can on the nature of Handshakers production in comparison to other Gohan's anime, and the only thing that seems to stick out was the fact that it was a collaboration with the anime production juggernaut Frontier Works. Because most Western anime fans know little to nothing about how anime is made, the name Frontier Works probably won't ring a bell to some until you actually look them up and find out that they're responsible for funding more anime than Masao Maruyama on the Crackbender. If you watch Yonko Productions, or Kanapa, or read the Sakuga blog, you'll probably be aware of the nature of animation production in Japan to a certain level, but if not, I'll give you the paraphrased version. Anime usually start out as ideas tossed around by a production committee. These committees are comprised of various bigwigs who represent various companies who all have a vested stake in the production of the anime. The reason I'm being so vague here is because production committees are usually a very diverse affair. Car companies, video game publishers, restaurants, all sorts of business ventures can have possible seats at the table in the production committee. What you rarely see, however, is animation studios themselves being on the committee. This is because a production committee has the final say in which studio is involved in the project. And once you figure that out, things start to click. Studios are picked for various reasons: their track record, their connection to participating companies in the committee, and sometimes, in the case of Gohands, their specific artistic flourishes. As I mentioned in the intro, Gohands rose to fame with anime that showcased the specific aesthetic. The film grain, the tricky camera moves, all that stuff is what landed them the acclaim with shows like Project K and the preceding movies. And something tells me that Frontierworks wanted that specific brand of magic to happen twice, but bigger. It's obvious, looking at Handshakers, that the anime is definitely trying a bunch of ambitious and out there animation tricks, and the use of camera work is definitely trying to do something, but due to the rush nature of the writing and the shoddy craftsmanship as a whole, it all falls flat, and that's a damn shame. Here on the NineOuh channel, I really should come up with a name for this show. We don't like to rag on anime without a specific reason. I mean, what are we, Mother's Basement? I decided to talk about Handshakers because I watched the first episode 2 years ago and I still haven't been able to tell if it was a practical joke or not, even after completing the whole thing. Personally, if it comes down to a question of whether or not you should watch this show, my answer would be abso-freaking-lutely. But why do you think I didn't spoil any of it? Oh no, baby. I want everybody watching this video to go check out the show right now. It's on Crunchyroll. Do it in your cool, bucko. If I could sit through this and come out with my internal organs intact, you, yes you dear viewer, should be able to manage the same. You don't grow without adversity, fair traveler, and Handshakers is as adverse as it gets. This video was made possible by me, and despite my dealings with NineOuh, I won't be able to keep on keeping on without help from you. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, pledge to my Patreon. Also, check out my SoundCloud. People tell me I rap good. Sayonara minasan. Watch Handshakers. Thanks for watching.